Well, hello, General Hospital Daily Recap fans. Today's daily recap is for Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Uh, Not a lot going on, but definitely some movement. Let's talk about what happened today. We have, well, Lucky woke up. Lulu was in there, sitting by his side, and he woke up and they talked, and she ran out, uh, telling Elizabeth, and I think Felicia was with her, that Lucky woke up. Lucky woke up. Oh my goodness. So Elizabeth runs in and she sees him and she goes over and gives him the biggest kiss. See, because this is Jonathan Lucky. And, she didn't get to really kiss him that first kiss. It was a stand-in Lucky. This is the real deal. So she made sure she got a good kiss in there. And she told him, thank you for coming back to my house, that he saved her. And Lucky's like, I hope you don't greet all your patients this way. It was too cute. But anyway, they had a talk and he asked, how's Aiden doing? She goes, Aiden is so worried about you. I'm going to tell him, that you are okay. And they had a little talk. And then Laura, because Felicia called Laura, Laura was in a meeting with Sonny, Jordan, Curtis. They called Sonny into Laura's office and they told him, as a courtesy, what Sidwell and Drew was up to. Laura said, the original site for this project was absolutely not your peers. And the original site was a better site, and they really wanted to go back to that original site, but Drew's holding it up. And so Sonny says, wait a minute, are you trying to tell me Drew is in league with Sidwell trying to steal my properties? And she says, yeah, because she told him. He says, they're not for sale. She says, they're going to invoke eminent domain. And with eminent domain, they can seize your properties. And he looked, now as he's talking, he kind of touches his chest and he tries to remain calm. Sonny's always trying to remain calm. And he goes, well, they can't have my properties. And Laura says, listen, Sonny, the reason we're telling you is, bottom line, we don't want Sidwell to have your properties. Like she said, the best place is the original site. She said, but this is Drew. He's got a vendetta against you. And Curtis said, and Jason too, because they want that warehouse, right? And this is the way they're going about it. But Jen Sidwell is bad news. And so Sonny said, okay. She says, Sonny, listen, as the mayor, I don't want the activity Sidwell's going to bring to Port Charles on those piers. But I also do not want those piers to become a turf war. Not started by Sidwell and Sonny, not started by you either. And Sonny looked at her. She says, we're telling you as a courtesy, just so you know what's happening behind the scenes. And he goes, I appreciate that. Right. But then Lucky gets a call from Felicia saying, Laura gets a call from Felicia saying Lucky's awake. So she's all happy and she tells everybody, look, I gotta go. I gotta get to the hospital. Lucky's awake. And so Sonny tells her, I'll drive you, Laura. So she goes, well, okay. So she leaves with Sonny, and Curtis and Jordan are talking. And Curtis says, look, she goes, we can stop Drew. He goes, I have a plan in motion. Stella's has introduced me to a senator who's got big clout, and he said the name, and she goes, "Oh, he has a lot of pull in Congress, in the Senate." She says, and I'm gonna talk to him, and hopefully I can neutralize Drew's reach. She says, but I can't stop Sidwell. And Jordan says, well, leave him to me. I have a dinner plans with Sidwell later in this week, and I'm going to see what I can find out. And Curtis said, Jordan, I know you're going to do what you're going to do. I know it. but Jen Sidwell is dangerous, and I want you to be careful. And she says, I plan on it. So, that's all you could do. So Laura gets in there. She talks to Lucky. Oh, and he was saying the minute he saw her face, he saw a calming went over him. He goes, no matter how old you get, you always need your mama. That was cute. And then Laura has her talk with him. Sonny's standing by the door, and then Laura goes out. She's talking to Elizabeth, I think, and Sonny's talking to Lucky. And Lucky tells him that, look, there was a minute when I was gasping for air. I honestly thought that I was dying. He says, I heard my father's voice. He goes, not that I imagined my father's voice. He said, I heard my father's voice. And my father told me, this is not your time, cowboy. It's not your time. And so Sonny said, Luke always had impeccable timing. And he goes, and you are your father's son. He says, from what I hear, you had impeccable timing saving Elizabeth last night. And Lucky, this Jonathan, the actor Jonathan, I forget his last name, he always can shed some tears. Always. He was the cryingest Lucky, right? Emotional Lucky. And so he has tear running down his face when Sonny said that. No, it just meant so much to him, but whatever. So now let's switch to Sidwell. Carly is at Charlie's with Brennan. They're having a drink, and they're going to finish their conversation, as to how do you define it. And she goes, as I can recall, you never answered the question. And she keeps looking at Sidwell because Sidwell's meeting with Lucy. And Lucy's like, oh, the champagne. And he's just, being Sidwell Howard, you smoozing in her face and you're whatever. And so Jack says, you're distracted right now. She goes, I can't believe Jen Sidwell is walking around Port Charles like he doesn't do anything wrong or hasn't done anything wrong. She goes, I was at the Quartermains when he and his goons came in at gunpoint and kidnapped Sasha. He is a danger. So Brennan says, yeah, Cardi can't resist herself. She goes over, she talks to him, and he goes, oh, Miss Spencer, so nice to see you. And she goes, no, what I'm wondering is how are you just acting like you didn't commit a crime? And he goes, no, that situation, she goes, that situation was a misunderstanding. She goes, when you kidnapped Sasha Gilmore at gunpoint. No, that whole situation was a misunderstanding. She says it was not a misunderstanding because I was there when you and your goons did it. And he goes, and it's good you followed instructions and didn't call the police. He goes, so now it's in your best interest to continue to keep quiet about that information. Jack walks over there. See, this is the sin. Although the other Jack Brennan would have been just as deaf on him too. He went over to, he says, Cardi, can I have a word? And Cardi goes, be my guest. She walks away. I want to speak to Mr. So he goes, we haven't been formally introduced. He said, I'm Jack, and he was saying Brennan from the WSB. But as he's saying it, Sidwell interjects, Jen Sidwell. Like, I'm not going to have you finish introducing yourself because I'm going to jump in and introduce myself because I'm the most important person in the room, right? So Jack looked at him and he says, I know exactly who you are. He says, and if you trouble Carly Spencer again, he looks at him, he goes, I'm going to drop a bomb on you. He says, I'm going to finish the job I did. Excuse me, everybody had to sneeze. I'm going to finish the job I did in Africa. And Sidwell was looking at him. That's that face. He's like, let's see. Uh-oh. Now he knows it was the WSB that did it. And Brennan looked at him and just walked away. And it shook Sidwell a bit. And he's sitting down back to Lucy, and she goes, are you okay? And he goes, no, no, fine, fine. Because he had told her before Carly came over to him that he had another lucrative real estate deal for her. Big commissions. And she goes, ooh, ooh. And she goes, I want some waterfront property. And he told her Pier 55. And she says, well, that's Sonny Corinthos. He owns that. He wouldn't sell any real estate from there. I already know that. And Jen says, but I still want you to broker an offer to him. And she was like, you know what? Even though that would buy me, and she named this expensive designer purse, right? She said, but I'm gonna have to turn you down on that. She says, I'm not going to get involved with that. And he looked at her. And actually this was after Brennan threatened him, right? And he goes, that's okay. He says, I've got other avenues already in the works in which to acquire that property. And she just looks at him. And Carly's still glancing at him. She told Jack, what did you say to him? Because he seems to be a bit flustered. And he goes, nothing of importance. And she goes, mm-hmm. She says, Jack Brennan, I believe you said something ruthless, or you can be ruthless. He says, I can be ruthless when I need to be ruthless. He was like, absolutely. And she's just looking at him, right? So Trina comes in telling her, can you believe it? Just somebody dropped out of some trip, right? Joss was offered their seat, and she's going to be out of town for a few days. And it was some exciting event, right? And Carly says, I know. And Jocelyn has the opportunity to go. And Trina says, oh my goodness. I mean, I would have just jumped at that chance. And she goes, I just hate the fact that, I don't know why this shirt does that. I just hate the fact that I got a text from Joss. I didn't get to say goodbye to Joss. And Carly says, I got a text too, but she's okay. She's going to have fun. And Jack is just sitting back there kind of smiling like, okay, that cover story worked. Good. You know, good. So anyway, that's the cover story that they gave, and it's gonna work. So now we also have Martin. Martin comes to Tracy, and she offers him, she was getting ready to drink some expensive scotch, and she pours him a little bit, and he's like, something he said to her snarky. And she goes, well, he goes, I better drink it before you throw it on me. She goes, I would hardly waste this vintage or whatever she called it by throwing it on you. It's too expensive. And she goes, what? You're getting ready to whine about what? And he goes, oh, you know exactly what I'm here about. You need to call off the injunction from my client using the Quartermain name. And she goes, I will not. And he goes, you know what? When was the last time this property was surveyed? And she goes, what are you talking about? He goes, because, I did a little digging. And there's a portion of the property that is 20 feet beyond your property line. And it's going to have to be taken back over because it's public land, not private. And she goes, no, there isn't. He goes, yeah, there is. Oh, I'm 100% sure about this. You need to check. He goes, but here's the thing. You want to know what is over the property line? The Quartermain crypt. And Tracy looks at him. He goes, so I suggest you play ball and call off that injunction, and that whole matter of embarking on public property stay between us. And in my mind, I'm thinking, no, until there's something else Drew doesn't like. See, that'll never stay between that one incident ever. And Tracy said, he goes, because if you don't, tomorrow morning, we're going to have all kind of bulldozers over there. He goes, and Lila and everybody, Edward and Lila and everybody else in there, gonna be moved. Now that is a beautiful view of the lake, but they'll be moved. So Tracy said, you're bluffing, and I'm going to call your bluff. I am not removing the injunction. And he looked at her like that, took him for a loop. And so she goes, not doing it. Try something else. Try again. Lulu comes in. And when Lulu entered the room, Martin got, kind of switched gears because let's face it, Martin's brother tried to kill Lucky and her. Martin feels guilty for that. He feels bad that Cyrus did that, right? So he looked at her and he goes, I'm so happy your brother is doing better. Lucky is doing better. Because I've been praying for my sister, and whatever he said. And he said praying, that would have been Cyrus. And he looked at Tracy, he goes, you know what? It's disappointing that you're not gonna make a deal. And he's closing his briefcase. He goes, but I have to meet another client. And he fumbles out the door because Lulu says, look, I want to revisit Valentine. You having information on where Valentine might be. And he goes, Lulu, I have gone through all of my records with a fine-tooth comb, and there's nothing I can give you regarding Valentine. Nothing, I mean, come on now. Right? Now, Spinelli had already hacked everything and got what he could get. Okay. So she goes, that's it, Martin packs up his stuff and he gets on out of there. And so Tracy says, oh, he's lying to you, Lulu. And she looked at her. She goes, what do you mean? Oh, he was pompous. He was self-assured before you walked in the room. And the minute you started talking about Charlotte, his whole demeanor changed. He got fidgety and jumpy and he got out of there. Mark my words. He's hiding something. He knows more than he's letting on. And Lulu's looking because now now she's going to break into his place. We know Lulu. So we shall see. Dante comes in and Lulu ends up telling Dante, something bothering my eye. Lulu ends up telling Dante and he goes, Lulu, we've already talked about this. Let the police find Charlotte. I know he don't mean PCPD. They can't even find Cyrus's body. So Charlotte's a wrap, okay? So then he says, she goes, look, I agreed not to be jumping on planes, running halfway across the world. But me investigating what information Martin Gray might have, That's a whole nother story. She goes, and Dante, if the tables were turned and it was Rocco, you would be standing right here with me, trying to find out anything you can to bring him home. So, Lulu's gonna be Lulu. Lulu's gonna do whatever she wants to do. And last but not least, uh, well, Dante talked to Chase, but before I get to their conversation, um, BLQ and Lois talked. And she had been laying in the bed crying, and she told Lois that Chase wants Finn to be the sperm donor. And she goes, I don't feel good about it. I wanted to have Chase's baby, Ma, not his brother's. And if we were going to go that route, I would rather it be anonymous because there's too much that could go wrong or that would always interfere with Chase and I raising this baby. What about Violet? That would be a sibling for Violet. She doesn't have any. Do we lie to her? Is that fair? When she comes to visit the baby, she's playing with her sibling, and we just say she's cousin Violet. She goes, I don't feel good about that. And on top of the fact, I don't think Finn would allow us to just raise his child, Finn being Finn, and I don't blame him. And so Lois says, those are some valid concerns. And if you have this many concerns, then no, that you're right. This is not the option for you. She goes, but Chase was just so excited, Mom. And I don't want to let him down. She goes, but you know what? You need to tell him how you really feel. Okay. And so she goes, you need to have a conversation with your husband. Now, Chase was at the Valentino's, the gym. He was supposed to meet Dante, and he got there late. Dante was finishing, but he ended up telling Dante what happened. And Brooklyn's response, and Dante was like, well, man, that could create a whole just bottle of problems. He says, how do you know Finn is going to be hands off where his child is concerned? And in my mind, I'm thinking, especially it's a boy. He doesn't have a boy. He'd have a son. Oh, please, right? And he goes, because I'm going to tell you, Chase, if I had a child and I was told that I could never be a father to that child and acknowledge him as my son or them as, my child, he goes, I couldn't do it. I could not do it, Chase. So have you talked to Finn? And he goes, no, I wanted to talk to Brooklyn first. And now that she reacted this way, he goes, and think about Violet. Are you going to tell Violet? Do y'all plan on lying to Violet all her life? Would Finn be able to lie to? He goes, Chase, there's a whole lot going on with that. And Chase says, I didn't think that far. I didn't think about it. He goes, think about it. And if Brooklyn has concerns, you need to talk to your wife. He goes, because actually, those are very valid concerns, Chase. And he goes, and don't forget what happened to Christina and Molly. Everybody's throwing that up, right? And so he goes, you know what? I'm going to go home and talk to my wife. And he does. He goes home and he tells her, I didn't think the whole thing through properly. And Finn is not the right choice for us. And she goes, I feel the same way. I am so happy that you came up with that, that you thought about it. And he goes, Chase, there are options, but we don't have to decide right now on the options. Let's take some time, right? And so they hug and, blah, blah, blah. That was sweet. Last thing, Trina talks to Stella and, they talk about Ty. I fast forwarded the whole thing. So anyway, that is it, everybody. That is the daily recap. Let's go to comment corner. A lot of comments in comment corner today. Let's see. Let me move these comments over here. Goodness, it keeps snapping back to the wrong screen. I have Three monitors, everybody. So anyway, yesterday I was bottom up. Today I let it scroll, 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 stopped in the middle, and I'm going to do about 7 minutes from the middle down. Okay, so here we go. Jacarly says Scout 2 has had many name changes. She started as Scout Morgan, then Scout Kane, and now Scout Quartermain. LaShunta says, remember Drew dragged about using the name, uh, and he got money in the bank. So good, Tracy. I don't see how it's legal by him being Alan's son. What do you mean by making that name being changed? Yeah. Realistically, he could change it. I really don't think Tracy. Tracy just had a judge, that did that for her. And guess what? That same judge can grant them, allow her to buy, because it's only 20 feet that the crypt is on, 20 feet of that public property. Come on now. That could definitely happen. Jacarly says it should have played out that after Drew made his statement official, that Spinelli pulls the traffic cameras that led to Drew's house and give it to Anna. I know, right? That is a good suggestion, Jacarly, because that could happen, right? Then she goes to Drew and Willow's house and confronts him with the footage. But the footage will show Jason driving down the street, not Jason going in the house. It's going to be Drew's personal security footage that's going to show that. Drew can be arrested for giving a false statement. It will ruin his rep as congressman and prove to Willow he is a liar. It's time for Drew to fall. I agree. It's time for Drew to fall. Tulip said, why can't Tracy be his alibi? He went to see her, right? No, he went to see um, Sam's grave, and then he went to Drew's house, and then they didn't show him after that. LRT Production says Chase isn't thinking straight. He forget how it came out that Finn might have been his father and not Gregory, and how he felt. Yeah, that's so true. Or, I mean, for him to ask if the child had to be told, ridiculous. That is ridiculous. He should know better than that. Yeah, you're right. He's just going off of pure emotions, right? Alicia says in real life, Brad would only be allowed in the hospital as a patient. I know. Whoever killed Austin sent photos to Ava. That is so true. I don't know why Kai or Sai would have done that, sent her photos. I know. For one, he is not that subtle. They just dropped the whole ball with the whole Austin murder. Alicia says they used Sai to wrap up Austin. No, they didn't use Sai to wrap up Austin. He did not kill him. He was at work at the cafe. Oh, really? I don't know. How do they know when Austin was actually killed? They didn't find him for days and days in that cabin, right? Alicia said Tracy's just irks me. She's good for a couple of laughs, but that's it. She's been gone just about forever and comes back and wants to be the Quartermain grand dame. Should be Olivia stepping up. Olivia just wants to be in charge of the kitchen. Care Bear, Olivia runs a hotel. I never thought I'd say this, but Drew would be would make Rick look like a saint. The writers have done a hell of a job by destroying Drew's character. They sure have. Sly says, I agree. Anna is going to help prove Jason was set up. Jason has come to trust Anna and confide in her more than anyone else lately, I know. They've come to depend on each other. Plus, she also knows Drew is targeting Jason and Sonny and doesn't believe him, which is true. But guess what? Jason also knows Carly is getting way too close to Jack Brennan, and Carly can run her mouth too much. So you can't tell Carly too much confidential information. Alicia says the audience has watched Ava, Anna, Valentine, and Brennan reminiscing, not necessarily favorable, about going to the WSB training or through the WSB training together. Where is Joss really, I mean, already being sent to on an assignment without preliminary training? I was thinking the same thing, Aisha. Not even an orientation. Is she really slated to be a full-fledged agent, or is she just a lone recruit, part of Brennan's pet project, to be dropped once some objective has been achieved? Is this her new career path? How will she account for time away from her family when she's attending the WSB Academy? That's so true, right? And then let me see. Let me go down to Yolanda. Yolanda said, is Brennan trying to get Josh to help take Sunny down? Nah, no, that wouldn't work. And no, she wouldn't do that to her sister's father. Ali Alicia says, wouldn't surprise me. Again, folks seem to have amnesia, especially when the Aussie was playing him. He came into town to take Sunny down, remember? Yep. Remember the meds? Start sniffing around Carly, pretending not to know her connection to him. That is so true. And then Gabriella says, of course, Drew lied on Jason. He didn't forget how Jason punched him in the face over Michael. I would do the same thing too. Oh, really? Please. Drew's lies. I'm happy he lied and making it official because it's going to come back and bite him. Aisha says, sorry, but given how Anna and her department had to count on civilians to bring Cyrus's crimes to light, there's no way that Carly should leave Jason's fate in Anna's hand. The ex-spy may eventually recognize the WSB's fingerprints all over the frame-up of Jason. I know. Because she also knows Brennan wanted Jason to work for him, and Jason told him no. Anna, come on now. Jason should remember that too. Um, all over the frame up of Jason, but coming up with the goods and permanently exonerating him is another matter. That is so true. All right, everybody, I'm at 8 minutes with Comment Corner. So excellent job. You guys really had some great comments today. Keep it up. Comment Corner with you all talking to each other is the best thing. I'll be back tomorrow. Let's hope. Let's hope there's some kind of cliffhanger Friday in store for us.